If you want a pathway to a high-paying job and the respect that comes with a union contract, visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org. KCAA.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Working in the Margins, a show about the struggle, a show about contemporary challenges in today's world. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Suzette. And turn your mic on.
Family Assistance Program, and this is our weekly radio podcast show where we bring in community partners, advocates. We bring in folks that are that have devoted their lives and their careers to assisting folks that are marginalized and working in that's where I came up with the title of the show, Working in the Margins, because we social service folks and us nonprofit folks that do homeless work in our communities, we work with folks that you just typically don't find in the general population. These are folks that are, they are victims of crime. They are human traffic victims, survivors. We're going to say survivors. We have domestic violence survivors. We have youth that are young kids, like from 11 to or 14 to like 18, and then that special population of Tay-age youth from 18 to 24. And we all know we were 18 to 24 at some point. If we hear now and we're older, that's a tough time for a lot of people. Not everybody comes from a background or a home that has set them up to, graduate from high school and go to college and, do that traditional, what I guess was formerly called traditional. I don't think it's traditional anymore. There's so many options for education and things like that. But a lot of kids, they don't, there's foster care. Kids come from abused, dysfunctional families, parents that were addicted, homeless, the generational homelessness, so the agencies that come on here, we work with those populations. We work with that population, these populations at Family Assistance Program, and we work with other agencies. We are a part of a few different collaboratives where we come along with other agencies doing the same kind of work, and we do the work together. We have a program called Hire, which is like my baby right now. I just love it. I work as a CES. The CES we do employment services, so that's what I help do. I help find opportunities for training and employment. I help find clients that qualify, and I help promote this program, the Hire program. It's a well-funded program in our community. We have 6 other spokes that are a part of this collaborative, so they also benefit from the grant, from the funding, to help the reentry population. That's a marginalized population. We help them get jobs. We help them stabilize. We try to help them. The goal is to reduce recidivism. So we do everything we can to come alongside a formerly incarcerated person or family, because it's just not the person sometimes. Sometimes it's the whole family. When the person is incarcerated, it's the whole family that's incarcerated, and doing that time with the family. So we help with resources, education, training. I'm coming to you today from the great Teamster Local 1932, who they've also prioritized the reentry population and clients, and they offer trainings. They do like warehouse logistical trainings that's going to be starting soon. And they do, it's like a clerical, like a work readiness. They do work readiness. But they've come alongside us, we've come alongside them. I've had them on the show before because their goal, like our goal, is to help these reentry folks find livable wage jobs. Livable wage. It's not good enough anymore just to say, oh, I got a good job because I'm making $19 an hour. If you're making $19 an hour and you got 4 mouths to feed besides yours, that's not a livable wage. We are already behind in minimum wage, in the minimum wage of what we would need in order to survive. Not just people say, oh, you just need more to survive in California. I know that we need more than $7 and some odd cents for minimum wage across this country. So even though California has done better and we have increased our minimum wage, it's still marginal to what we need to survive and to raise our families. So we do family assistance. We work with folks that are trying to make it easier for our communities and for society, so that there's less people falling into those margins. That's the goal. We're trying to find folks that are committed to being the tide that raises all boats. They tell you, hi, my guest is here. So, how are you, Doctor? Come on in. No, we love the radio and we love KCAA because we represent all kinds of folks. Hello.
Hi.
We have every kind of population. This is the station that leaves no listener behind. So if you want to know about something, we can bring it to you. We're also we are familial. So we do things sometimes, and it's a family. We are a family here, right, GM?
Yes.
I know.
That's why the GM's doing your show.
That's why the GM is doing our show today. Thank you, Mark.
The regular one will be here in 5 minutes.
Okay. Y'all know my regular engineer, Eric, Eric Engineer. He had car trouble today. So our wonderful GM, Mark Westwood, who knows how to do everything here, stepped in for a little bit. But Eric will be here because our GM has many, many hats. But thank you, GM Mark Westwood, and also KCAA. You can find us on 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. And again, like I said, we are coming from the Teamsters Local 1932 building on 5th and Sierra, right here in downtown San Bernardino. And then after this, it generates a podcast. So thank you, viewers, because you have come through with the views. I really, really appreciate you. It generates a podcast. It usually drops within a few hours or so. It depends upon how fast or slow what is it called? The video platform will let you upload. It does it kind of like you put it in a queue and then it has to go up, and they control that part. So, and we're also, I always want to tell my folks, we are formal but informal. We are formal because we're all on TV, so I want everybody to look nice and, and everything. But we are informal because I want you to be as comfortable as possible talking about the great work that you do. And I want you to, I know my guests are usually really, really excited about that. So I want to make sure. So, community, I am so excited to introduce to you this wonderful woman. Her name is Dr. LaSharnda Beckwith. She is from Lutheran Social Services. She's the CEO. I am just impressed. I love this. I love to see women in leadership. I love to see Black women in leadership, because we know what we're doing. We represent and we do the work. So wonderful, wonderful. And she has a wonderful assistant with her. His name is Matt, and he's sitting over on the side, but he's so polite and so nice. And he came in, and this is the kind of assistant that you want, because he's been talking to her since said she was going to be a little late because of traffic. And I'm like, I was an assistant. I was a legislative aide assistant in the California State Senate. So I say I can always recognize a good assistant. So I am super excited that you are here, Miss LaShonda. I'm going to have you come up just a little bit, because you're a little tiny lady. And I'm a big old girl, and I take up a lot of space. But the space is going to be yours today. So again, thank you so much. I want to let you know that Barbara Kimler, because I thought that's who was coming, and then you was like, no, that's just. I'm like, y'all stack deep. She's such a dear.
She is.
I know she's probably like a jewel on your team.
She absolutely is a great partner with Lutheran Social Services.
Okay, because she was just awesome to work with and getting this all set up. She's super professional. And I like to give shouts out to staff. Sometimes we don't know or what. So first, thank you for coming. Why? I'm going to tell everybody why first, real quick. Lutheran Social Services is opening a wellness campus here in San Bernardino. It was well funded. It was a grant between the city and Lutheran Social Services. We have been as workers and we have been anticipating this center since we found out that it was going to happen. So we are excited for it to come. So I'm like, I want to know what's going on now, because every time I pass there, it looks further and further along. So I reached out to my guy Paul Fournier. He's my friend, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I can do that for you." So it helps to keep good connections and good relationships, because this happened like within a week. So this is awesome. Doctor, what do you want me to call you?
LaShonda Beckwith is fine.
Okay.
LaShonda's fine.
Okay, LaShonda.
Yeah.
My guy is a doctor too, and he doesn't like us to call him doctor.
Oh, okay.
So I always ask, because he's like, I'm not comfortable with that. And I was like, you earned it. But
Well, I'm very comfortable with it, but
okay, because I would like to refer to you as Dr. Beckwith.
Okay.
All
that's
right.
Fine.
So that's what we're doing, folks.
That's fine.
Dr. Beckwith, I want you to tell me a little bit about your role at Lutheran Social Services. What do you do, ma'am?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm the president and CEO of Lutheran Social Services Southern California. I've had the privilege and the honor to be able to lead this organization since 2020, right at the pandemic. Yeah, April 2020. I will say that I'm responsible for the strategic direction of the organization, for the financial viability of the organization, and for close to 200 employees, and we have so many partners throughout 6 counties in Southern California.
Wow.
San Bernardino being the largest.
The largest, yeah.
Yes.
We're the largest county in the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that has its own issues, good and bad. But I know when I was talking to, I had the honor of having a conversation with Mayor Bass from Los Angeles, and I asked her, I says, what can San Bernardino teach you about homelessness, and what can you teach us about homelessness? Because though we are right next door to each other, right next door, Claremont and Pomona is Los Angeles County, we have greatly different needs as far as homeless. And where they are, we have a lot of space that folks get lost in, wherein Los Angeles is condensed. So people know where to go. Skid Row is like popular, but around those areas, it's always going to be a lot of people. Our folks out here in San Bernardino are spread out all over. So when we have the opportunity to have a wellness center or some type of campus that serves that population central to our region, is really important?
We think it's important. We are also in the LA County area, and the second wellness center will be at our Long Beach location.
Yay.
So, but San Bernardino, you're correct. It's huge, and there's a lot of land, and it just spreads out so vastly. And we do have pockets of people that can be lost. Yeah, there's a coalition in LA. I'm hoping that we can have that same type of coalition here in San Bernardino. But we are laser focused on meeting the needs of the folks in San Bernardino right now.
Yes.
There was a promise made to this community years ago, and when I came on as CEO, I wanted to live up to that. You mentioned the city of San Bernardino giving us money to investing in the wellness centers, our partners. But I want to also give a shout out to the state of California, because
Yes.
the state of California through Project Home Key gave us $35 million. The city of San Bernardino, $5 million. And we're just so thankful for what they've done and come alongside us to really make this wellness campus become a reality.
Well, thank you for being an agency that people want to invest in. You know, that's not, there's not too many folks that just want to give an agency $35 million or $5 million. That's $40 million. I know that I had a little agency, they wouldn't give it to me. I had 2 employees, you know, so you're doing something right, of course. Well, we've known that. Lutheran Social has been around for a long time. You're doing something right. I'm going to ask, okay, I remember from my notes. She said, bring question number 8 to the top. So I'm going to ask you that next. Can you share how your wellness campus is progressing right now so far?
Oh, it's progressing. You said you've driven
Yes,
by.
I drive past it every day almost.
Every time I come out here and I drive past it, I get so
Me
excited
too.
because just to see, you know, a couple of months ago last year, you saw the ground, right?
Right.
Now you actually see structure in the ground. Next month, you should see 140 units
Yes.
starting to be set up on that campus.
Oh.
And then by August, we pray, by August, you'll see the new administrative building that will offer intensive case management and
Right.
other wraparound services.
Right.
But also, you'll notice sitting on that campus, we have a qualified health clinic, right? Federally qualified health clinic that we
Right.
have partnerships with. And they'll be able to provide healthcare services, as well as
Awesome.
mental health services.
Oh, and we know that that's important. Those services are really, really important when folks are living on the streets, because I always say if they didn't have trauma before hitting the streets, they
Yeah.
definitely have it now.
Yeah.
So it's really become important to offer those services, those wraparound services for mental health, addiction. You know, if some of them can go home and they just don't know how to bridge that family reunification gap. So to have case managers come alongside them,
Yes.
and then also to have a place to go consistently where your people are willing and able to help them.
You know, sitting on that campus, we currently already have a 70-bed men's
Right.
shelter. And to your point, you know, the case manager is so important because, to your point, sometimes people don't know how to get back.
Exactly.
So you don't force anybody, but you're certainly providing resources, counseling, those types of things to kind of help people navigate these situations. You also said, and I thought it was excellent when you said the part about, you know, if they didn't have trauma, they certainly do now. We all have some sort of trauma.
Everybody going through something.
Yeah, but you are right in that, you know, what happened during the pandemic, for instance, folks that would have never even thought about
know.
going to a food line or sleeping in a car or those types of situations they find themselves in. And
Right.
it's
needing utility assistance.
absolutely. So when you start thinking about just that mental component, right, there's this piece of me getting over myself too, right, and trying to just, how do I navigate this new space that I'm in?
Yeah.
And so I believe that our case managers are excellent at that. We
That's
call them
awesome.
care coordinators now, but
Oh, I like
those
that.
case
Well, that's
case
what it is.
managers.
It's taking care of folks.
Absolutely.
You know, and you're helping them coordinate their care. And,
Yes.
I think it's important that we as social service agents and social service programs are consistent, because there is no consistency in being homeless.
Yeah, I think all social services organizations want to be consistent. Our challenge, as any social services person listening probably knows, is funding.
Yes,
It's always funding. So what is municipal dollars? When administrations change those types of things, you have to
Right.
consider, is there going to be a cut to funding?
Exactly.
Programs that we've benefited from here in California, because of the state,
Right.
we appreciate that, and those programs may not necessarily be available in other places.
Right.
So there's just there's this pool of people that are donors too, and you want folks to come alongside
Right.
and give.
Right.
And I want folks to understand that when it comes to Lutheran Social Services, it's more than just homelessness.
Exactly.
There's mental health, there's addiction, there's housing navigation, there's
Yes.
case man, there's just so many other things.
There are. Sometimes I think that we forget that when we are helping people, we're trying to help the whole person. So depending upon what their trauma is or what got them to where they are, we could be trying to help somebody figure out some of the simplest things. We have 18 to 24-year-old age kids that we have housing for, a family assistance program. We have to, most of the time, we have to show those kids how to cook, how to clean, how to take care of themselves. I love case managers. I think they deserve their flowers every single time, because you have to figure out as a case manager, what does that person need in this moment? Is it spiritual? Is it mental? Is it substance? Do they need their family? Some folks, I've had clients that were disenfranchised from their families, and that is what kept them homeless. And you wonder what happened, that you have family down the street, around the corner, in the next city, that you can't go to them. What happened? And sometimes breaking through those barriers, they lead to reunification. Sometimes we want to teach them how to communicate. But if they can't, and they, things are struggling, and they're on the streets, at least they have Lutheran Social Service.
Absolutely.
At least they have Lutheran. We're going to take a break. My Easy E Eric engineer is here. Hey. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to take a break, community, and I'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda. The Legacy KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
KCAA.
In these times, sometimes you have to take away the stress or dress to impress. Lux Transportation has just the ticket for you and your needs to relax, kick your feet up in style, and make some new fun memories. Looking for a hassle-free, comfortable ride? Experience the ultimate in luxury. Transportation in a sleek, luxurious black-on-black SUV. Private, discreet rides, airport runs, sightseeing, proms, weddings, and romantic date nights are all ahead in your future with Lux Transportation. Karaoke, disability-friendly, and no problem, we're also senior citizen-friendly too. Call or text Mr. Hollins to take away the stress at 951-399-5425. That's 951-399-5425. Lux Transportation, when you need the absolute best.
The Row House reminds listeners each day 22 veterans take their own lives. Together, we can win this war against veteran suicide. Let us all join the Row House to let our veterans know there is hope, there is help, and they can heal. That's courtesy of The Row House in San Bernardino, offering daily deals on everything from top quality flour to edibles and so much more. Their goal is to help you win that battle within. Stop by or call 909-763-3700. The Row House in San Bernardino.
KCAA.
Welcome back, community. This is Shazette, working in the margins, our weekly radio show, Family Assistance Program. We're on the great station of KCAA, and you can find us at 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. We're coming to you from the Teamsters Local 1932 building over here in downtown San Bernardino. And today I have Dr. Beckwith here from Lutheran Social Services. We've been having a wonderful conversation. I think that we are equally excited about this new campus that's coming. It's an expansion. It's not new, it's an expansion,
Right, that's right, yes.
With new components.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I read up on them. So I kind of keep, abreast of, our CEO said of me once in public to a bunch of folks that Shazette, all she cares about is putting bodies in beds. And I said, well, I think that's a great thing.
It is a great thing. Yes.
And I said, so I'm constantly looking for, because being the CES program manager for the Central Region for Family Assistance Program, we work and get referrals from all of our partners, including the city and the county, for homeless individuals. We prioritize domestic violence individuals and reentry because we have housing for that and funding for that. But we we take all referrals for all folks. We still take referrals from 211 on a limited basis. But so I'm always looking for beds, transitional programs for these clients, because it is gold in your hand if you can get a client to prioritize their housing and a roof over their head. That means that they are tired of running, that they want help, and they have prioritized that over whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
And it's why it's wonderful to have partners like Lutheran that understand that. So you tell me, I want to know, how do you select how do you ensure the success and effectiveness of Lutheran Social Services?
Well, for us, there's two ways, right? There's clearly qualitative metrics where we look for stories and we look at how a person has actually benefited and transformed based on the services they've gone through or received with Lutheran Social Services. So we tell those stories. I think we tell them quite well. We need to tell more of those.
Yes.
But we also have quantitative, very strong results-driven metrics. So, whether it's the number of people housed, the number of people that are, gained employment, they're gainfully employed, and they stay employed for a certain period of time. So we have metrics across the whole organization. It's just really important. Sometimes you don't really see, particularly in that social services type of space, some of those business metrics.
Right.
So that's something I believe that was a benefit that I brought to the organization, and some of the key leaders have brought to the organization.
That's wonderful, because I think that everybody, I hope, and I say everybody because I think that once the county gets along, then that's great when the county gets on board. So, but the county is on board, and a lot of us are already on board with having data proving results. Data proving. We are collecting data like we've never collected before. We're breaking it down. We're finding out what the needs are, who needs the help, what does that special family look like. And I am a data geek, I'm a research geek, so I love to see the numbers, because if 50 people we're getting 50 people housed in a month or in transition or program, how many are staying the next month? That's how we know. That's how we measure our successes. How many are staying? Or maybe on the 15th of the month, you had 15 people in there, but 10 left overnight. And so now you get 5. Maybe you don't get any more. So having those numbers, and I love to hear when people say we work with data and matrix, and because it's going to help all of us.
For us, we are a mission-driven organization, but we're a data-informed organization too. What data will do, it does not discriminate, right?
Right.
So you're looking at the data, and it will also help you determine what programs not to carry.
Exactly.
Because generally in social service, we want to be all things to all people.
We do.
And because we care about people, we
Yes.
want to make sure that people's needs are met.
Yes.
But sometimes that can also be a detriment to the organization if you're losing money. And what I mean, we're not profit driven, but you got to have funds to be able to cover
Right.
your operating expenses.
Exactly.
And so if you have programs that are draining you, you may have to have some tough decisions. That's why I believe partnerships are so important.
Exactly.
Because
Leveraging,
absolutely.
leveraging funds. I've not met as many organizations since I've started doing the show. I've just been out. I'm like out there meeting folks. Since I've been a part of a reentry hire program at Family Assistance, just been out there meeting folks, finding out who's doing what, and I invite them to come on and talk about it like I did with Lutheran. It's important to me to know who is doing what in the community, because there's an organization called Faiths, and it's a great organization. It's through Cal State San Bernardino. I think they're funded. All their resources are free, but they offer mental health, substance abuse, one-on-one classes, one-on-one counseling, all state mandated. They offer. That helps family assistance programs.
Absolutely.
That helps Lutheran Social.
Absolutely, you're right.
Because then we have classes at family assistance program, but maybe it's not a bad idea to have this other organization who believes and serves the same population.
And if it's their core competency and they can do it better, it's probably best to have them do it. We do financial literacy courses and those types of things, right? But to your point, if there's something that needs to go deeper or something that's different, a prime example is the fires that's happening in LA and us being invited to come along to provide some type of support.
Right.
Well, we have Lutheran disaster relief and we have Lutheran world relief. So instead of us overstepping, we can certainly connect those that are displaced because of the fires with Lutheran disaster relief or Lutheran world relief so that they can still get the support they need.
Right.
It's not our core competency. One thing that we are good at, though, is that, once those folks are placed and they need, again, trauma-informed type of support, we can
Now
come
they are
alongside.
victims,
We can
yeah.
do that's yes. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I see it.
I absolutely agree with you. I love that idea because for so many reasons. But like you said, we don't specialize in everything. We want to,
Right.
but we have to remind ourselves we cannot be all things to all
That's true.
people.
Yeah.
We have grants for different things, different populations and things like that. But my goal this year is to bring more people around the table that have resources to share resources, because we can serve that many more people.
Absolutely.
If we aren't bound by our grant specifically, because we want to keep doing substance abuse. Well, tons of agencies out there do substance abuse, so let's send them. I had VARP, Gibson House, they came on, and they have wonderful services that we've been now sending folks, recommending. You have to go on referral, but we have those relationships, so we can get somebody through DBH, Tell me, how do you collaborate? I know, you just said a little bit about it, but how do you collaborate with other organizations? Like when, more like out here, who do you work with out here in San Bernardino for your services. Do you have things like you're working in Los Angeles with folks out here too?
Yes, but it's now at our sites we have senior directors, right?
Oh, okay.
And we have program managers. So there's just so many folks. So you'll see out here in San Bernardino, our site directors. They're involved with. First of all, they know everybody. Right. They're all
That's
connected.
imperative.
They're just all connected. For instance, I already mentioned that we have a federally qualified clinic sitting on our property. So we collaborate with them.
Awesome.
You know, our core competency isn't healthcare,
Right.
but it is
Right.
theirs, and we have a close partnership with them.
And that's
and
a
they,
great
you know,
service to be able to offer right there.
it really is, and it's not just for the people that's coming through our shelter or in interim housing, and we also have houses in San Bernardino that provides permanent supportive housing. So people in the community are served by, they are served by that clinic
Right.
that's sitting there, and we intend to see more of that happening.
awesome.
So that's one partnership that I can think of, but we're also we're in San Bernardino County, Yucca, Lucerne, Barstow, Big Bear.
Wow.
We're in just so many different places in this San
Ooh,
Bernardino.
those are the
mix.
hard areas.
They are hard. Those are the San Bernardino rural areas, right?
My brother lives in Yucca. He loves it out there because he don't like nobody in his business. And he's been out there for a while now and loves it out there, you know. And I'm like, man, y'all got to drive for like 45 minutes to get to the closest anything. But I always thought if you were going to be homeless and you just wanted to be off grid and not be bothered too much, you're going to go to areas like that.
Well, for us, Yucca, let's just talk about Yucca, for example. At the Yucca site, we primarily focus on teenagers or young people and mental health. So you see that we are so focused in the San Bernardino rural area.
Diversified.
Yeah, it's really about mental health, young people that are going
That's
through.
good to know.
Yes,
That's good
yes,
to know.
Yes, yes.
A lot of folks watch this show from all areas because I have family all over, and I always say it's only my family watching. but I have a lot of family. But like my brother is in Yucca, so that's good to know that those services are out there. And then you said in the high desert as well, correct?
So we again in all of the other areas, it's intensive case management. You know, I'm just trying to think of some other programs. We certainly have housing navigation type programs, but primarily mental health and intensive case management, those types of things. Those are the services in those areas.
How your staff and everything, how are they trained? What type of positions do you have within your agency to work with the population?
Well, again, we have counselors all over the place. We have facilitators, peer-to-peer type of support that we have primarily, well, all over, but we have certified people in the San Bernardino rural areas because there's another program that we developed and it was approved and it can go actually statewide via the internet that one of our previous chief program officers had put together. And so we have those types of positions. I'm just trying to think of a housing navigation position. We have just so many types of positions. We have disabilities support folks that are in our Pasadena office. That office is primarily about adults with intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
And so having them also go through programs and become somewhat independent in their way of navigating the world. So we have experts that are doing those types of things. I'm sure you already know about CalAIM and all of those programs. So we have case managers that are working those types of programs. And of course, we have DBH too. DBH is our largest contract up in the San Bernardino rural area.
Okay.
Yes.
That is so good to know. And I'm so happy you're here sharing this information because we need to know who is in our community and where they are.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't know that that agencies function in different, some agencies function in different counties, 2 different counties. Some agencies function the whole of San Bernardino County, which is, large. And some grants allow you to function within your city. So Thank you for
Yeah, we're in 6 counties.
6.
So we have educational programs in San Diego. We have TRIO and Upward Bound. Those programs focus on first-generation students that are going into college. And some of ours, I know this sounds exaggerated, but it's not, because even if you said it to me and I didn't see the numbers, I'd say, nobody does that. But we have 100% success rate with the TRIO and Upward Bound programs that are in the San Diego area. But that's because there are folks, Gabriella's people, they are in the schools sitting with students and working with students. And some of those students have been accepted into UCLA, Harvard, different places and these are first generation students. So we're very proud of the work that's being done there. We also have a huge Project Hand Food distribution network down in San Diego. We do the same thing, of course, in Long Beach. We were doing food meals, different things here in San Bernardino, and we still are sack lunches because, the kitchen is gone, but that'll be back up soon, and then we'll start that all over again.
That's awesome. I am very grateful to you for staying in this work, because it's hard sometimes.
It is hard.
It might get a little harder. Some things are happening on the horizons that may get a little closer to us. We'll see, but we're going to protect each other. We're going to take care of each other. Agency. I've talked to so many agencies. It's like we are local. We're going to think locally. We got enough here to keep us busy, so we're going to think locally. But thank you again so much for coming on and giving us your time. I know you are a very busy person, but thank you for keeping Lutheran Social Services relevant in the game, helping our communities. I'm so excited to see this center coming up. I'm going to ask you one last question, then do I got to go to break, Eric? No, I'm good? Okay. I'm going to ask you one last question. How does this work feed your soul?
Faith. And I will say that when people hear the word Lutheran, of course, we would hope that they know that
church.
they think church. So we are a faith-based organization. But even if you look at my history before Lutheran Social Services, I've always been a faith-based girl. I grew up in the church. That's something that's just inherent in who I am. And I don't mean just growing up in church and know everybody goes to church. I mean actively involved. Before coming to Lutheran Social Services, I spent 26 years with the Army and Air Force Exchange Service. And I brought higher education to the campus there in Dallas. And then after I retired from the Army and Air Force Exchange Service, I went into higher education myself, and I was dean, chair, and my last job was provost chief academic officer. At 2 of those universities, they were faith-based organizations, and we took business students to India, Sri Lanka, Ukraine, and Romania, and we were teaching folks in villages how to create micro businesses so they could become self-sustaining. So I will say that my heart has always been in this area of serving the underserved, the marginalized, the voiceless, the people ignored, the ones that are invisible, because I could have been one of those. And so it was by God's grace that I was not. I was the first one to go to college in my family. Almost everybody after me went to college, so there needs to be somebody that can break that mold. I was raised in a blue collar pastor church type family, not
me too.
You know, and so and that's by my grandparents. My mother and father were in New York, and they were professionals, but passed very, very young. I was raised by my grandparents who were pastors, and so that's inherent in who I am. I've always believed that there are people with hidden talents. There are people with, just so much to give, but nobody's ever encouraged them to step out. And nobody's ever given them or helped them get the tools to navigate certain things. So
they don't tell you in high school, the counselor don't tell you can go into social service work, baby, and help people. They don't tell you that.
They do not, but they also don't tell you sometimes, depending, like when I remember getting in high school, I just wanted to take an accounting class. And the person said that, no, you're not cut out for accounting. I remember that, and so and then I've heard other people that are a whole lot more popular than me tell those same types of stories. So imagine if I'm sitting here today and I can tell you that I experienced that one-on-one
Yes.
in high school. And I've way been past high school, way past high school. And then you hear other people saying that. I believe that still goes on, and the person just
Right,
gives up.
right.
I just had praying grandparents that believed that I could, do whatever I wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think my family, the same. Like my parents, we were like, religious, things like that. But they were really like, you could do anything you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can be anything you want to do. You can. And so I was kind of like, I don't know. I was kind of out there. I was like, I can do anything. I started the first BSU, and then I went to high school and things like that. But as an older woman, I'll tell people I've been choking on this for the last weeks, but I saw some invitations going around about my 40th class reunion, 40th year, and I'm like, oh, they must got the wrong person, because I haven't not been out of school for 40 years.
I don't feel like I've been out of school that long either, but
for 40
I have.
years, but I have, you
Yeah.
know, and I am not doing anything that I thought I would be doing when I was in high school.
Really?
Nothing. They told me to join the service, get in the service, or go to junior college and try to get a job, like in retail or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That was the hopes back then.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if I would have known. I always envy young people, because I'm like, I wish I would have gotten into this work when I was younger, because I would have been so happy. I would have been so fulfilled, so much younger.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I envy the young people who have opportunity to do this.
I say if young people let them try anything they want.
Yes.
I had never imagined I would be a woman that traveled the world, and I've been all over the world and lived in 2 countries. And so that was not through social services. That was through the Army and Air Force Exchange Service,
Right.
which is retail, right, that supports the military wherever they
Right.
are. So if a young person, I have a son that's 40 years old, and he is such a joy.
You don't
and-
have to tell nobody that ever again.
Okay, I won't
Okay.
then. Okay, but what I want to say is that he has never met a stranger, right? Because I think that we opened up this world for him as a kid.
Yes.
And I just think that let young people explore and do,
Yes.
and then let them select what they want to do.
What they want to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they will experience.
Trying to push kids into, these young kids, it's a different time.
Yeah.
It's
It
just a
is.
different time.
Yeah.
They're allowed to be more expressive. They're allowed to,
Yeah.
they have so many more opportunities to, to be and do work that matters to them.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and I'm with you. I got a 30-year-old, 31-year-old, and he's employed. He has a little career. He's a pharmacy tech. He does his thing and everything. But I tell him, he probably gets sick of me. I'm like, man, you could do anything. I'm like, you still aren't even. You could run for president of this United States. You couldn't be any worse than was. So I'm like, dude, you could still do anything you want at 31. You could. There's so many opportunities. Thank you, Dr. Beckwith, for
Thank
coming.
you so much.
I really appreciate you. I want you to stay here, because I'm going to close out the show. I got about 5 minutes, Eric says, right? Okay. I'm going to talk about some things that are going on in the city. And feel free to chime in if you want to. This is kind of my, what do you think about that part? So we are experiencing fires. We are experiencing winds that we haven't seen before. My family's from Louisiana and down south, deep south. I want to tell people there's no such thing as northern Louisiana. All of Louisiana is in the south. And I got pictures, and we've seen pictures on the news and everything about the snow. And it was deep. And it hit some cities and towns and states that had to declare emergencies. And so when that happens, my heart goes to the folks that are on the streets.
Absolutely.
It goes to the folks on the streets. And I want people to think about that. Community, I want you to keep that in your mind, that as you are driving around in your cars, from the inside of a building to another, maybe from, from the grocery store to the inside of your house. Think about the folks out there that have no inside to go to. And think about how when you wake up in the morning, and like my house was 60 degrees because we are blankets people. We use blankets. I don't like to run the heat. To me, it's not good because it dries you out and all that stuff through the night. My son sweats, so he's like, we share a home. Think about those folks out there that don't have clothes sufficient enough. Jackets, hats, beanies. It's cold. I get up, I put on layers, and I turn on the heater. I take it for granted. I try not to, but I think we do. We take it for granted. We don't keep, I know like the folks at Lutheran Social Services, they can't ignore it. They can't because the people come to you. But I want our community to think about those folks on the streets and think about who they're made up of. Sometimes, the stereotype is that they're just made up of folks who just want to be on the streets. Mm-hmm. They don't want help. They're offered help, and they don't want help. I feel if you're offering help to somebody that's living on the streets, there's something keeping them on the streets that is not healthy. So they need guidance. They need to get healthy, a clear mind for however brief a time it can be for them to make good decisions. Some of them can't make good decisions because they don't have a clear mind. I don't know how many, I personally say if I was out on the streets or had to live on the streets, if I didn't have a drinking problem before, I sure would have one on. Mm. I don't know how else these folks get through. I've been out there in these encampments. I've seen the conditions. I don't know how they do it with a clear mind. I don't know how. You have to be altered. You have to in order to deal with it. But being altered is sometimes what's keeping them out there. So I believe in trying to get folks mental health and substance abuse treatment. If just, briefly so you can talk to the person that's going to make the decisions with a clear mind, Do you see a lot more mental health people people with mental health and substance, or just mental health?
I think there's both, really. Yeah. Really, it's both.
Yeah. I feel like it's more so than ever.
I do too. Yeah. The streets are flooded with different types of,
need.
Different things like that. And also remember that in this country, we do have an epidemic when it comes to folks taking, over the counter or prescription.
We do
prescription drugs and stuff.
Prescription drugs.
And they get hooked.
My grandma was
things.
addicted to prescription drugs and fell down in the street from a massive heart attack when she was her middle 60s. So thank you again so much, Dr. Beckwith. I really appreciate you.
Be here today.
Thank you, Matt, over there sitting on the side, for bringing your boss in and allowing us to have this great conversation. And thank you to your team for helping us put together. San Bernardino, I will be here next week. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, check out KCAA TV on YouTube to watch this podcast later when Eric gets it all loaded up. And I will talk to you next week. Have a great one.
Thank you.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families.